Major League Baseball is one of the longest running leagues in the world and has had some great logos in its time. Let's look at the history of each team's logo, but first let's start with the logo of the league itself. Created in 1969 for a centennial celebration for Major League Baseball, marking 100 years since the first professional baseball club, the original Cincinnati Red Stockings, began playing in 1869. The logo was designed by a guy named Jerry Dior, and while Dior claims that no one in particular was the inspiration for the logo, Harmon Killebrew, who played for the Twins at the time, claimed to be the logo's inspiration. Looking at a photo of him beside the logo, it isn't hard to see how his batting stance could have been the inspiration. The red, white, and blue color scheme fits with other logos such as the NFL, the NBA, or MLS. And after the centennial celebration, the MLB logo stuck around as the logo for the league. In 1992, the logo was updated, altering the blue and red colors, making them slightly darker. And again in 2019, the colors became even darker to be an exact match of the red and blue colors used on the American flag. And that's how Major League Baseball got its logo. Now let's look at each of the clubs. The earliest Chicago Cubs logo dates back to 1903. The stylized C in an Old English font appeared on the pocket of the team's uniforms. In 1906, a new C appeared on the uniforms, much more simple with a serif on the top of the C. The next year, in 1907, the C was updated to a new design using an almost Western-style font. This was the first year that the logo appeared on the hat of the Cubs players. In 1908, the C shape was changed for the first time to the shape seen in the modern-day Cubs logo. Inside the logo is a bear holding a baseball bat. The next year, in 1909, was the first time we see this design, a C with the letters UBS inside to spell Cubs. It appeared on the team's away uniforms. In 1911, the logo was updated to a monochromatic navy blue color scheme, still keeping the C shape and the bear holding the bat inside. In 1916, the logo changed with the C shape becoming something familiar with the likes of the Chicago Bears logo, and the bear inside the C no longer holding a bat, but walking on all fours. In 1917, the logo was dropped briefly for a wordmark design of the team name, and then the next year, in 1918, the C with UBS inside the logo was adopted again, this time with a big boxy square-shaped C in a tan color with a navy outline. Starting in 1919 and then readopted in 1925, the C shape reverted back to the C from 1916, but replaced the bear inside with a Western font UBS to spell Cubs. In 1922, the C shape was made thinner with serifs on either side of the C, and the C was fully in navy blue. In 1924, the color scheme from the previous C shape was adopted to this new C shape design. But of course, as mentioned before, the team reverted back to that previous design in 1925. In 1927, keeping the C shape the same, they took the bear with bat logo and put it inside that C. In 1934, for a single season, they abandoned that design for a new C shape. Inside this new C shape was also a new bear design. This bear is holding a baseball overhead with both paws, ready to throw the baseball forward. However, in 1935, they returned back to their previous logo design. In 1937, the Cubs began using that 1909 away uniform logo, but instead of all in navy, they adopted it to their red and blue color scheme and also changed the blue color to a brighter royal blue instead of a navy blue. In 1941, a new version of this same logo was designed, with a red CUBS inside of a blue outline. That outline is designed to make it look like a bear's paw. In 1957, that design was simplified. The blue outline became a circle and was once again made a more navy blue color. Finally, in 1979, the Cubs adopted the logo that we are familiar with today. that outline a thick blue circle with the large red C that surrounds UBS at the center to spell Cubs. For most of the first 3 decades of the Atlanta Braves' existence, to the extent that the team had a logo, it was mostly just the city name Boston across the front of the team's uniforms. At the turn of the century, while they were still the Boston Beaneaters, the team adopted an overly complex Old English B on the left breast of their uniforms, though most of their uniforms still simply said Boston across their chest. In 1907, the B was slightly simplified, though still in the Old English style font. In 1908, the B was simplified further, adding a more Western or Tuscan style font popular in this day. In 1909, the logo moved to the sleeve of the uniform with a simple block text B placed over a simplified version of a baseball. In 1911, now named the Boston Rustlers, the B on the sleeve was changed back to the complex Old English B, now primarily seen in navy blue. Becoming the Boston Braves for the first time in 1912, the logo on the sleeve was replaced with a Native American in a war bonnet or headdress. In 1915, the team began placing that logo in a blue circle on the pocket of their uniforms. In 1921, the B returned to the Western-style font, this time with a ton of spurs sticking out at various places on the B. This thing seriously looks like some sort of medieval torture device. In 1925, the B was updated to slightly simplify the Western font and added a small triangular cutout on the straight side of the B. 1929 became the first year that the Braves used a multicolored version of their Native American logo. During this time, the logo either appeared on the sleeve of the uniform or even as a large logo on the backs of their uniform. Becoming the Boston Bees, the team reverted back to the use of a bee as the logo, the letter, not the insect. But since the insects are in fact yellow, or at least often have yellow stripes, the bee logo adopted a yellow color scheme. I actually don't know if that's why yellow was chosen. But this version of the B adopted the Western-style font with the triangular cutout. In 1938, that B was changed to a more simple block-style B. And in 1939, the color change apparently was not sticking well, so the B logo was changed back to a red color. And then in 1940, oh no, you hear that? Is that Old English Bees music? That's right, they returned back to a version of the exceedingly complex B design from the Boston Rustler days. They even kept that logo as their name changed back to the Boston Braves in 1941. In 1945, the team returned to an updated version of the Native American logo on the uniform sleeve. And in 1946, that logo was accompanied by an updated logo across the chests of their uniforms. The word Braves was written in a cursive script above a black tomahawk. In 1957, 4 years after moving to Milwaukee, the Native American logo was replaced with a new logo of another Native American. This logo is of a man laughing, sporting a mohawk and a single feather out of the back of his head. Upon moving to Atlanta in 1966, the stylized A on the Braves' hats was adopted for the first time. Variations of this logo, including a lowercase a and an A with a tomahawk, would continue being used up until the present day on the baseball cap of the Atlanta Braves players. In 1987, the tomahawk logo returned to the uniforms for the first time since moving to Atlanta. This tomahawk was red instead of black, which has remained the primary team logo ever since. Continuing the legacy of the original Cincinnati Red Stockings of 1869, the modern-day Reds began in 1881 as the Red Stockings. The original logo was a stylized Old English C in red. In 1900, the team changed the C-shaped logo to a block text C shape. In 1901, that became a more curved C shape. In 1905, that C changed again with a triangular point along the curved side, the first that kind of resembles the modern-day Reds logo. In 1906, the C shape was altered again, giving it a more stylized design with a fancy serif on the ends. In 1908, that shape was altered yet again, squishing everything taller and wider and further stylizing the serifs to an almost fishtail. In 1909, the serifs were added to the bottom of the C as well, giving us a C that I call the double fishtail. In 1910, the logo on the sleeve returned to a slightly altered version of the 1905 logo. In 1911, the logo on the pocket of the uniforms was changed to a stylized western red outline. The C is filled in white, and the team name Reds inside of the C. The C almost resembles a horseshoe. In 1912, the logo returned to a variation of the 1909, aka double fishtail, except with no cutout. In 1913, the team changed back to a new variation of the 1911 logo, instead of an outlined white C, using a fully red version. In 1914, that was further refined with the use of a C shape again, looking like the familiar logo from modern times. In 1915, the logo was altered slightly, making the C shape thinner. The Reds then adopted a new version of the logo in 1920, the C in red with a black outline, and the team name Reds across the center. In 1936, the team adopted a new version of the logo with a blue C and lettering and a red outline. This inverted logo design didn't stick around long and was changed back in 1937. In 1939, the Reds readapted the old logo from 1936, but this time they got the colors correct. A red C with red letters surrounded by a dark navy blue outline. Changing their name to Redlegs during the height of McCarthy's fever dream, the logo reverted back to a simple red C with a tail shape. Red C probably stands for communism, right? Surprised McCarthy didn't catch that one. What is that, a red nose, eh? It's a communist nose. He's a clown. I'm saying McCarthy was a clown. This was also the era where Mr. Redlegs first made an appearance as a patch on the sleeve of the team's away uniforms in 1956. Was Mr. Redleg a communist? I guess we'll never know. In 1961, having finally returned to being the Reds for a few years prior, the team readopted a new version of their long-held 1939 logo. The main alteration was removing the flared end of the C and keeping the entire logo oval-shaped. Beginning in 1967, the Reds logo returned to the flare-shaped C, text in white surrounded by a red outline. That logo lasted for 2.5 decades until in 1993, the logo was inverted, depicting the C and the rest of the letters all in red. Just in time for the turn of the century, in 1999, the Reds logo was updated, keeping the C in red but surrounding the logo in black. The letters are in white and white outlines are used to shadow the shape of the C. In 2007, the team returned to an updated version of that 1967 color scheme, using the blockier text and drop shadow from the 1999 design. Finally, in 2013, that was updated, slightly changing the red color to a darker red, giving us the logo that the Reds still use today. The Pirates' first logo, dating back to at least 1900, was a fairly simple P. During this time, the P often appeared in white on blue hats or in blue on white hats. They also used another logo on their sleeve of an intertwined BPC for Pittsburgh Baseball Club during the 1908 and 1909 seasons. The P design also first appeared in red during the 1906 season on the pocket of their uniforms, according to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But the Pirates' own website lists it at 1925. We'll just have to lump it in as a variation of the same P logo that they used in the early 1900s. In 1922, they briefly used an Old English style P before returning to the use of their other P logos. In 1940 and 1941, the P on their chest was replaced with their first use of a pirate. The old bearded pirate with a tricorn hat continued to be accompanied by the P on the hat, now mostly in red. For a single season in 1947, the P on the hat was depicted as a cursive P with a slightly curled tail. This matched the cursive writing of the team name on the team's uniforms. The very next season is the first time the P was depicted in yellow, or gold because, Pirates. It was depicted in yellow on their hat, essentially giving us the logo that the Pirates use today. But it would be a while before the team finally adopted the gold P as their primary logo. In 1960, they adopted a more cartoon-styled pirate, eye patch, bandana, hat with a Jolly Roger. The team would use this logo for the next decade. In 1971, a new pirate replaced that old one. This pirate is on what appears to be a wanted poster. Underneath him is the team name Pirates. In 1987, that pirate was replaced with another new pirate. Team name above, this pirate wears a hat with a Jolly Roger on it. Instead of a skull and crossbones, however, or crossed swords like you might see on the Oakland Raiders logo, this design uses crossed baseball bats. The whole logo sits on a sand-colored diamond, evoking a baseball diamond. In 1997, the logo was again redesigned with a Pirates font that matches the serifed P on their hats. In front of the team name is a pirate with a polka dot bandana on his head and a single eye patch. The whole logo is laid on top of crossed baseball bats. Finally, in 2014, the team decided to make the iconic golden P that had adorned their hats since 1948 their primary logo, and that is still the logo that they use to this day. The first logo of the St. Louis Cardinals dates back to 1900. Primarily on their hat, the logo was an intertwined STL for St. Louis. During this time, it would occasionally appear on the Cardinals' uniform sleeve. This logo disappeared from their jerseys for most of the 1920s and 1930s, before returning to their hat in the 1940s. A similar design is still in use today on the Cardinals' baseball caps. In 1922, the Cardinals first introduced their Birds on Bat logo. This would undergo a number of changes before eventually becoming the logo that they still wear on their uniforms today. Briefly, for 2 seasons in 1927 and 1928, the team replaced the dual birds on the bat logo with a single cardinal on a bat. They returned back to the previous logo in 1929. Then in 1951, they updated their uniforms and included a yellow bat for the first time. You can see the resemblance already of the logo on the team's current uniforms. Ever since 1951, the Cardinals have had a variation of this logo on their uniforms, only recently replacing the word Cardinals for the first time with St. Louis on special occasions. During this time, however, the team used a couple of additional logos on uniform sleeves, official merchandise, and advertisements. One of these is a cardinal holding a bat that is preparing to swing for the fences. This was used primarily between 1956 and 1966. In 1967, they introduced a circular logo that read St. Louis Cardinals along the thick red border. Inside is a baseball, and atop the baseball is a cardinal standing on a bat. The cardinal is depicted wearing a flat cap down over one eye like you would see in an old-timey depiction of a baseball player from the turn of the century. Finally, in 1998, the team logo returned to the familiar cardinal on a bat with the team name underneath, a one-bird version of the same logo that is across the team's uniforms. Starting in 1900, one of the earliest Philadelphia Phillies logos is a simple P on the chest of the team's uniforms and on the team's hats. The color was a bit inconsistent. In 1900, the P was blue on the home uniforms and red on the away uniforms. In 1901, it was black for home and red for away. 1902 saw only red P's home and away. And then in 1903 to 1909, it was just black. But in 1910, the team went with a green, fancy Old English P. But still ever indecisive, the very next season they returned to the previous P in red and continued using that design on their hats and uniforms until 1924. Debuted during the 1915 World Series, however, the Phillies unveiled arguably the first actual logo used by a team in the MLB. The logo features a famous statue of William Penn, founder of Pennsylvania, come to life to throw a baseball. Behind him are baseball players on a baseball diamond, and encircling the logo it says Philadelphia National League Baseball Club. The logo was used frequently into at least the 1930s, like on this scorecard from 1936. As far as the P logos go, in 1925 the team yet again switched to a slightly different red Old English styled P. In 1934 the team unveiled a new P design and began putting the team's full name across the chest of their uniforms. The P is written in the same cursive font of the team name, which features a long tail off the end of the cursive S to underscore the design. In 1944, the team was briefly renamed or additionally named to the Philadelphia Blue Jays / Phillies. While that name change was brief and all but phased out by 1946, the team didn't fully abandon the idea officially until 1950. You can see this logo design still in use here in 1947. But the new design of the Phillies name with the stars above the eyes was retained. The P on the hat also took the look of the P in this new font design. By 1950, you'd sometimes see the Fighting Phillies logo complete with baseball bat underscore, like at the top of this program from 1950. For the 1970 season, the Phillies went with a full redesign of the logo. A new heavily stylized font with a baseball hidden inside the swirling center of the P, which now featured prominently on both the team hats and uniforms. That design was altered slightly in 1984 to become a more muted maroon color, but retaining the rest of the design elements. In 1992, the Phillies chose a new direction with their logo design. This design features a font that is reminiscent of the old 1944 Phillies Blue Jays logo. The team name with the stars over the eyes sits atop a Liberty Bell, one of the most iconic images of Philadelphia. The background is a baseball field shape in blue that is then outlined in red. In 2019, the Phillies made a couple of adjustments. The blue color used in the logo is slightly darker than before. The baseball field shape was also removed and the Liberty Bell was made blue. This change necessitated a slight outline to keep the stars above each of the eyes in Philly. That outline became the source of a minor controversy because of the design resemblance to the Dallas Cowboys logo, a fierce rival of Philadelphia's own football team, the Eagles. Despite this hiccup, the logo remains and is still used by the team today. In 1908, the then New York Giants first introduced an intertwined NW for New York on their uniforms. Once introduced, the use of intertwined letters have become an important logo for the Giants franchise ever since. Side note, of all the intertwined NW logos, this old Giants one is my personal favorite, hands down. In 1948, the team introduced a logo of the team name in a stylized cursive font on a diagonal slant atop an orange stitched baseball. This logo would have a number of variations throughout its use in the 80s, even after the team had already moved to San Francisco. The font design even made it onto the team's uniforms. Now, a few years before the team moved to San Francisco, the team changed the design of their intertwined logo. This one may look more familiar, and we'll be getting to that soon enough. But here you can see the old one in use in 1954, and here we see the appearance of the new design in 1955. The new logo is a bit narrower and uses serifs at the ends of each letter. Upon moving to San Francisco in 1958, a new set of intertwined letters, SF for San Francisco, were created for the team's new home on the West Coast. That logo is still in use today. Now in 1983, the slanted cursive Giants logo was replaced by a big blocky arched Giants in black with orange outline across the center of a baseball. Here we can see it on the cover of a program from that very first year. In 1994, that logo was adjusted, with the new font being a more Gothic design. Finally, in 2000, the logo was redesigned yet again, the arch of the letters more pronounced, now sitting atop a baseball with tan shading and red stitching. Starting out in Brooklyn before they were even named the Dodgers, the team's original logos were all the letter B. The original B was an Old English style letter, first in red in 1901, before being either blue or black in the following seasons. In 1909, the B changed to a new font, with a triangular cutout on the left side of the B. The B was primarily used on the team's hats and uniforms. Sometimes it was depicted inside of a baseball diamond on the sleeve of the team's uniforms. Now, having been renamed the Dodgers a few years earlier, in 1937 the team tried out the color green as the primary team color for a single season. Here you can see a rare photo of this blocky style B on the cap of catcher Roy Spencer. The following season, they settled on the design which would become their logo, adorning their uniform ever since. A cursive Dodgers swooping up and to the right, with the underscore coming off of the S at the end. Almost identical to the logo today, it has seen only slight changes in the cursive script and is now a lighter blue color. The logo with a baseball flying behind it dates back to the 1930s as well, according to an archived page from the Dodgers website. Finally, moving to Los Angeles in 1958, the team needed a new logo for their hats to replace the letter B. As a part of the move to Los Angeles, the team had to acquire the Pacific Coast League team, the Los Angeles Angels. That Angels team had a logo design of an interlocking LA. The Dodgers liked that design and adopted it to be used on the team's baseball caps. In 1902, when the team became the St. Louis Browns after moving from Milwaukee, the logo across their chest was an abbreviated STL, with the T sitting atop the period, standing for St. Louis. In 1906, the team introduced a new intertwined SL inside of a minimalistic baseball diamond. And then in 1908, the team adopted a fleur-de-lis on the sleeve of the team's uniforms for 3 seasons. The fleur-de-lis symbol of France was chosen for the city's namesake, King Louis IX of France, who was eventually made a saint. In 1911, the team got rid of the minimalistic baseball diamond and went with the SL on the team's uniform pocket. After ditching logos in 1915 in favor of the city name, in 1916 they introduced a new design of the intertwined SL on the sleeve of their uniforms and later on their hats. In 1936, the team introduced a shield design logo that would be used in both print and on the team sleeves. This shield had a star pattern on top of the shield, with a striped field underneath of brown and orange. Atop the stripes is a baseball with the word Browns. On top of the shield is a person, maybe a knight, maybe King Louis IX himself, riding a horse carrying a cross high. I mean, he was venerated as a saint, hence St. Louis. You can see a version of that logo as it appeared on the 1944 World Series program. In 1946, the intertwined SL on the team's hat was redesigned to an intertwined STL design that looks pretty similar to the current Cardinals' own St. Louis logo. In 1952, for 2 seasons before moving to Baltimore, the team introduced a brownie as their logo. Not the delicious treat we previously talked about brownies during the Browns section of the NFL logos video. This spirit of Scottish folklore is seen holding a baseball bat ready to swing. You can see a version of this brownie on the spring training program from 1953. Now, upon moving to Baltimore and being named the Orioles, their first logo is called the leadoff bird on the Orioles team website. It depicts a bird, specifically an oriole, cawing menacingly. Also debuting in 1954 is what the team calls the Herzl bird. This one was used in publications such as game programs. The team's website primarily focuses on the team cap and uniforms as the official logos, so I'll only hit on a couple of the logos used by the team in print and focus more on the logos outlined by the Orioles organization. The Herzl bird is a cartoon depiction of an oriole standing on a baseball with crossed bats behind it. Across the face of the baseball is the team name Orioles. In 1955, the shoulder patch bird was first introduced. As its name would suggest, this cartoon depiction of the bird, taking its design cues from the Herzl bird logo, was seen mostly on the shoulder of the team's uniforms. In 1963, the team went with the orange letter B logo. This logo is simply a block letter orange B. Fun fact, this is the only season the Orioles' home uniform didn't feature a bird. In 1964, the team released the chirping bird as their new logo. This more minimal bird is seen chirping. Now, is it just me, or does that thing look like a Kurzgesagt bird? Anyone else? I think it's the eyes. Anyway, in 1966, the cartoon bird logo was introduced. This logo features the head of a cartoon oriole wearing a baseball cap. Also introduced in 1966 is another of those publication logos, the Walsh bird, named after designer Stan Walsh. This featured that same cartoon bird swinging a bat inside of an orange circle with the team name Baltimore Orioles across the top and bottom. In 1989, the cartoon bird was replaced with the ornithologically correct bird. This bird is somewhere between a real bird and a cartoon bird, erring on the side of depicting the bird authentically, or as bird enthusiasts would say, ornithologically correct. Where's my fellow Wingspan fans at? The last of the publication logos I'm going to talk about features an oriole perched on the dot of an I in the middle of the team name Orioles, written in a cursive script. This is all happening on top of a baseball diamond. I included this one because it's one I remember from my childhood when I first started watching baseball. The team began using this logo in 1995 and continued to use it well into the 2000s. Here it is in 1997 on the ALCS program. Now, the design introduced in 1998 was called the lifelike bird. This very detailed logo of an oriole is, get this, much more lifelike. I know, crazy, right? Making slight alterations in 2008, the new logo was named the traditional bird. Very similar to the previous logo, this oriole is depicted flatter with less three-dimensional detail than the lifelike bird logo, and it utilizes a somewhat simplified color palette. Finally, in 2012, the new cartoon bird was unveiled, getting us the logo that we still see today. Similar to the original cartoon bird logo, this logo features a cartoon oriole wearing a baseball cap. The outline around the oriole is thicker than the original, and on the baseball cap you can see the team name abbreviated as O's. As the Boston Americans from 1901 to 1907, the team primarily used the city name Boston in blue across the chest of their uniforms, with the exception of 1902 when their uniform said BA in Old English script for Boston Americans. In 1908, upon becoming the Boston Red Sox, their first uniforms featured a big red sock on their chest with the city name Boston in white inside of the sock. There's actually a photograph of this uniform from the National Baseball Hall of Fame's website. Look at that majestic sock. In 1909, they started wearing Boston across their chests again, similar to the days of the Americans, but in red instead of blue. And in 1912, they introduced uniforms with the team name Red Sox across the front. These two logo designs, either saying Boston or Red Sox, arced across in a blocky font, have been used as the centerpiece of their uniform logos ever since. In 1931, the team introduced the double Red Sox logo for the first time, first appearing on the sleeves of the team's uniform. This design differs slightly from the one still used today, with the toe and heel accented with stitching lines. This logo continued to be used until at least 1961. Here you can see a similar version of the logo with even more stitching detail, with chevron marks detailing the sock from a game program that season in 1961. Now, to go along with the introduction of that double sock logo, another logo made a single season appearance on the same 1931 uniform. This logo was a big L-shaped sock on the team's baseball caps. This was the first time the team had used any logo at all on their baseball caps. This logo, however, did not stick around, the team preferring to use no logo at all on their hats in 1932 rather than big red L sock. But this takes us down a little rabbit trail of the logo of the Boston Red Sox baseball caps. Let's knock these out before we return back to the final logo designs. In 1933, the team decided to place a B on their hat for Boston. In 1936, that B was changed from the block font to a more barbed, almost Western font. In 1946, a white outline was added to the B. The font of the B was then changed in 1954. And finally, in 1966, the font was adjusted for a final time, giving us the B logo that the Red Sox use on their caps to this day. In 1962, the double Red Sox were updated and placed on a baseball. The heel and toe of the socks, now solid white blocks. Here you can see the logo appearing on a game program from the 1962 season. This version of the logo continued to be used up until at least 1981. Here it is on the 1981 yearbook for the Boston Red Sox. However, by 1979, another version of the logo began being used. Keeping that double sock logo placed on a baseball, an additional circle was placed around the logo with the team name. Boston in navy blue with a red outline, and Red Sox in red with a navy blue outline. The whole logo is then outlined with an additional thick red circle. Here it is appearing on the 1979 scorebook for the regular season. In 2009, the team announced a change that would simplify the primary team logo. The double Sox logo would take the place as the official primary logo, and an updated version of the previous logo would serve as a secondary logo for the club. The original logo for the Chicago White Sox was when the team was named the Chicago White Stockings. The logo was a large red C on the team's uniforms from 1901 to 1902. In 1903, their final year as the White Stockings, the C was changed to an ornately stylized dark blue C. A good example of these early C logos can be seen on this game program, with the team wearing the ornate C shape on their uniforms. In 1904, the year the team changed to the White Sox, the C design was rounded and simplified. A diamond cutout along the curve of the C was added in 1905. In 1906, the C was further refined. And in 1908, we see a new C shape, taking elements of the previous three. Worn on the sleeve in 1909, a new C shape was given a fishtail design on the top half. But enough with these boring C designs. Starting in 1912, we get the first real logo design for the team. A large blue S with an O inside the top and an X inside the bottom, spelling Sox, the team name. This takes us down a long winding path of the evolution of the SOX White Sox logo Let's go down that rabbit hole, then we'll discuss the rest of the team's official logos. In 1918, 4 White Sox were added to the S in the logo design, before returning to the previous design. In 1930, the logo was changed to a red color with a navy blue outline. Then in 1932, we see the first experimentation of a diagonal SOX logo. The letters are in red with a thin navy outline. Inside the O is a baseball, and behind the logo is a bat. In 1936, the team returned to a new version of the previous design. All in dark blue, the ornate font chosen gives fishtail ends to the S, and the O and X are given several flourishes. In 1939, the team returned to the red with navy outline for the logo, this time in a blocky text font with the same SOX design seen previously. A decade later, in 1949, we see the team return to the diagonal design, this time in an Old English style font, the black SOX design diverging from the previous color schemes. This familiar looking logo would set the foundations for what we know today. In 1951, that black text was given a red outline. Then in 1964, the colors were changed to a navy blue. This font became a thinner design than the previous logo, helping a bit with the legibility. For the 1969 and 70 seasons, the color was updated to be more of a royal blue. Then finally, in 1971, the color was changed again to red. Now we can go on to the official team logos. After winning their second World Series in 1917, in 1918, the White Sox revealed a new logo. This logo features an American flag background. On top sits an eagle with the 1906 and 1917 in its wings, the 2 years the team had won the World Series at this point. They wouldn't win another one until 2005. Below the eagle is a golden globe encircled with the text World Champions on top and White Sox along the bottom. Atop the globe is a large white sock. Nestled under the sock is 2 crossed bats and a single ball. On the bottom in a stylized font is the city name, Chicago. In 1948, the team tried out a new logo for a single season. This one of a cartoon White Sox player in a uniform, kneeling on grass and carrying an oversized bat with the team name, White Sox, inscribed on the barrel. Behind him is a large red baseball. The very next season in 1949, the team introduced a flying winged sock logo. Like literally, the logo is of presumably a giant white sock with wings. The line work gives the impression that the sock is flying forward at a quick speed. Chicago is written across the center in red and blue outlined cursive font. This logo was used until 1959, the same year that the team introduced an alternate logo of the black diagonal SOX inside of a diamond with Chicago across the top in cursive. In 1960, the team introduced a design of a red circle with a white sock in the center, layered over top a transparent White Sox player swinging a bat. In 1976, what I personally think is one of the coolest logo designs was introduced. The minimalistic baseball player on top at bat. Below him is the word Sox in a blue font. Then in a smaller red block font are Chicago and White Sox. It's no wonder that the team still uses these designs and uniforms occasionally as an alternate uniform to this day. But finally, in 1991, the White Sox finally landed on a diagonal SOX logo that stuck. Black with white outline, the team continues to use this as their logo to this day. When Cleveland began in 1901, the team had rather plain uniforms that said Cleveland across the front. In 1902, the team replaced that with a simple C in blue or white or red used on the team's uniform and cap. The color really depended on what they wanted for the rest of the uniform. The C's, as we've seen in many sports cities with a C, like Chicago and Cincinnati, became an important part of the team identity. Let's run through all the C's that Cleveland used up until today, and then we can unpack the rest of the logos. In 1905, the C was replaced with a cursive C, which was replaced with another cursive C in 1906, and then again replaced with a new cursive C in 1909. That then returned back to being a simple C in 1910. In 1922, the C became a fancy C with spurs in the center and fishtails on top, before returning back to the simple C in 1929. In 1933, the team changed to the C that we see many C cities adopt, such as the Bears in Chicago or the Reds in Cincinnati. And that continued to be the C shape until 1973, when it was replaced by this stylized C shape. In 1978, the C was changed again back to essentially a slightly skinnier version of the original C shape, but in red. The team would stick with this C shape for the next 50 years, until 2022, when the team officially changed their name from the Cleveland Indians to the Cleveland Guardians, altering the C design one last time to the C that's used today. This C is almost a shield shape, fitting in well with the team name. That was a lot of C's, now on to the rest of the team's logos. Upon becoming the Cleveland Indians in 1915, a change that is much discussed in my previous MLB team names video, the team took on a mascot of sorts that was used in publications such as game programs. For most of this time, from 1915 to 1946, the team didn't really have an official logo, but the use of a Native American man in a headdress or with feathers was used throughout publications. Here's an example from 1917, 1927, and 1938. Briefly, from 1929 to 1938, the Cleveland Indian uniforms used a small cartoon patch on their sleeve, but aside from appearing on the patch, I haven't found this colorful logo used in other publications from the team. In 1947, the Indians introduced the first Chief Wahoo logo design, a cartoon caricature of a Native American with a single feather, which appeared on the sleeve of the team uniforms and in print. In 1948, the logo became a more cartoonish caricature with the Indians logo facing forward in the team's red color. Here is the logo used on the World Series program from that season. In 1949, the logo became turned to the side, and the eyes of the Chief Wahoo logo looking usually to the side. Here you can see the logo looking up at its crown the season after winning the World Series. And here's another example of the logo looking to the side. In 1973, the logo was redesigned to have the Chiefs swinging a bat in front of a baseball in the team's new colors of navy blue with red accents. Indians around the top and Cleveland on the bottom, as seen here in this game program. In 1979, they returned to the previous logo with a slight change of replacing the black color with a dark navy blue. In 2014, after facing years of pressure, the team dropped the caricature Chief Wahoo logo, and the team decided to use the simple C that was already on the team's caps as their primary logo. Finally, after being renamed to the Guardians in 2022, the team introduced a new logo. This logo featured a familiar red and navy color, and features a baseball flanked on either side by winged G's. The wings are in an Art Deco style directly inspired by the Guardians of Traffic statues, the team's new namesake, on the Hope Memorial Bridge in downtown Cleveland. Beginning in the American League in 1901, the Detroit Tigers originally used the silhouette of a red tiger on their uniform as a logo. In 1903, that logo was replaced with a D logo, kicking off a long list of letter D logo designs. Beginning in 1904, we see the first Old English style D. The first one is in black, but it also appeared in blue or white to complement the uniforms. In 1908, that logo was now primarily in blue on the uniform, and a new Old English design was used. That Old English design was updated yet again in 1914. Then in 1916, the team reverted back to the simple Block D design. The following year in 1917, a new version of the Old English D returned. That design was then replaced in 1918. The new logo was using a Western font. In 1921, the Old English D returned with another new design. In 1927, the team dropped the D off of the chest of their uniforms, though it was still on their baseball caps, and replaced it with the head of a tiger. There were actually two different tiger designs, a more realistic tiger head on the home uniform and a more cartoon tiger head on the away uniform. Here you can see pitcher Josh Billings in the home uniform with the more realistic tiger head on his chest. And here you can see Tigers great Harry Heilman wearing the away uniform and the more cartoon tiger design. The cartoon tiger head moved to the back of the uniforms during the 1928 season. In 1929, the team went back to the Old English style D logo. This one probably looking more familiar to Tiger fans. This version of the D logo was outlined in orange. The orange outline was dropped the next year in 1930. In 1931, the team then simplified the D logo, making it a block font design, sometimes in orange, sometimes in white, primarily used on their baseball caps. But the team returned to the previous Old English design from 1934 and continued to use essentially that same D on their uniforms until 2018. In 1957, they introduced a stylized hand-drawn tiger logo. Often this was depicted monochromatically, such as in a scorebook from that first season seen here. The following year in 1961, the team began experimenting with circling the large logo with a black border inside which read Detroit Tigers. You can see an example of that in use on this program from the 1961 spring training. In 1968, the tiger design on the logo was changed and the colors were updated to the team's primary navy blue colors. You can see that depicted here on a program from the 1968 World Series. That logo would continue to be used until 1994, when it was replaced with the D logo that featured a tiger prowling through the lines of the Old English D. Around 2006, that tiger logo was dropped in favor of using that Old English style D as the team logo. And finally, in 2018, the team altered the D logo once more. Up until this point, there was actually a mismatch between the D on the team's hat and the logo the team used on the uniforms. The team unified these designs, giving us the Detroit Tigers logo that we use today. The Minnesota Twins began as the Washington Senators in 1901 and kept the same logo when they became the Nationals in 1905. The team logo was a simple navy blue W. In 1936, a red outline was given to the W logo. In 1939, the logo returned to just being blue with no outline. That was changed back again in 1948 when the team added back the red outline to the W logo. In 1953, a new logo was created of a baseball in front of a bat. Erupting out of the baseball is the dome of the Capitol building of the United States. And hanging off the top is a blue baseball cap with a red W for Washington. You can see an example of it on the cover of the 1953 yearbook from the team. In 1957, the logo was updated, featuring a cartoon of an old-timey senator in an official-looking attire. He's smoking a cigar, winding up to throw out a pitch. Below his outstretched foot is the Washington Monument. Behind him is a big red circle, and the entire logo is encircled by a thick blue border with the team name Senators across the top. An example of this logo is seen on the 1957 press guide. Upon moving to Minnesota in 1961, a new team logo was designed. On top of a silhouette of the state of Minnesota is a baseball with a river flowing from it and a bridge connecting both sides. Two baseball players shake hands over the river. On the left, the baseball player has an M on his shoulder, and on the right, the baseball player has an STP. M is for Minneapolis, STP for St. Paul. Caricatures of the Twin Cities divided by rivers that give the team their name, the Twins. In 1976, the design was updated with a simplified design and color scheme, featuring the team colors. Above the baseball players, it now reads Win Twins, with stars replacing the dots of each eye. In 1987, the logo was updated to a baseball with the team name Twins across the front in the same script now used on the team uniforms. Above the team name, it reads Minnesota. A small change was made to the logo in 1994, updating the blue color to match the team colors. In 2010, the logo was updated, baseball still in the center with the same Twins design across it. Now the baseball is surrounded by a circular navy blue border. Across the top it reads Minnesota, and across the bottom it reads Baseball Club. In 2023, the team updated their official logos, keeping the 2010 logo as one of the official logo designs. The team also isolated the text of the Twins design to use as a logo itself. Removing the drop shadow from the previous design, this logo is presented flat in the team colors. Finally, ever since the team arrived in Minnesota, they have used the intertwined TC logo on their caps, TC standing for Twin Cities. In 2023, that was made another one of the primary logos used by the team. Depending on how you count, the Yankees have 2 logos, or 4. I'll explain what I mean. Prior to the 1909 season, the Yankees, then Highlanders, used some combination of an N-Y logo. Usually an N on one side of the uniform and a Y on the other. In 1909, they settled on a new design that we would still recognize today. Here you can see that NY intertwined on the 1909 uniforms. But there already appears to be slight variations. If you look closely at the serifs at the bottom of the Y on the sleeve and compare it to the hat, the shape appears slightly different. That may be because the team actually has 3 different versions of the NY logo. The first one with the large flared base is primarily used as the logo on the team's uniforms. The second logo here is the logo design on the team's caps. You can spot some differences in the shapes created with the negative space between the N and Y. The shape of the Y itself is quite different. It's straight and not curved. The final logo features more serif-styled ends at the end of each of the letters. Again, you can spot differences in the negative space between the letters themselves. This final logo is most often used in print and also seen on the batting helmet of the team. Although popularized by teams like the Yankees and Brooklyn Giants, the interlocked NY design has been used in New York since long before then. Tiffany & Company, the jewelry store, designed a special medal for the New York City Police, a Medal of Valor. That design from around 1877 sits in the New York City Police Museum and features an interlocking NY holding up a shield design all under the word Valor. In 1947, Henry Alonzo Keller created what is affectionately known as the Yankees top hat logo. The design is a circular baseball logo. Across the center is the team name Yankees in cursive. The long side of the K is a baseball bat extending out the bottom of the circle, and atop the bat sits a patriotic top hat with red and white stripes and a base of blue with white stars. You can see a version of that logo making an appearance that year on the 1947 World Series program. Over the years, the design has been simplified and flattened out to give us the logo that we know today. Beginning as the Philadelphia Athletics of the American League in 1901, the Athletics' first team logo was on their chest of their uniforms, and it was a simple letter A. That A became an Old English-style serifed A the following season in 1902, still in the team's blue color. In 1920, the team first used an elephant as their logo. This logo was on their uniforms in a dark green, matching the trim of the team's uniforms that season. The following year, in 1921, the team returned to a light blue color, and the elephant was redesigned, appearing on its hind legs with its trunk extended in the team's light blue color. In 1924, the elephant was remade in white, holding a similar pose. Then in 1928, the team went back to the fancy letter A in blue. This A would remain the logo, changing with the team colors throughout their time in Philadelphia and setting up a foundation for the Old English style A that is still used by the Athletics today. In 1931, the team designed a logo of an elephant holding an oversized baseball in its trunk. On the back of the elephant is a banner with the team's fancy A on it. You can see a version of this elephant on the 1931 program for the World Series. When the team moved to Kansas City, becoming the Kansas City Athletics in 1955, the logo was redesigned. The elephant now balancing on a large baseball like a circus elephant, the trunk outstretched holding a baseball bat, the banner with A's still on the elephant's back, and the whole logo sits on a red diamond. An example of this logo can be seen on this program from their first season in Kansas City. I wonder if I can still win that gas range. Moving to Oakland in 1968, the team's logo was redesigned with an updated Old English A's in green over a green and yellow stitched baseball. Here's an example of a program from that first season in Oakland. By 1972, the team had updated their logo to a yellow baseball, the green A's still in the center. A pair of baseball cleats sits to the left of the A, and the moniker The Swingin' sits across the top, giving us the Swingin' A's. It was difficult to find an example from that first season, trying to find examples when I'm having a hard time sourcing a clear year for the logo change. But after winning the World Series in 1972 and 1973, you can see the logo being used in that 1974 ALCS program, en route to winning their third World Series in a row. Now, by the start of the 1982 season, the logo was dramatically redesigned to a simple circle logo. A green circle with a yellow A's in the center, Oakland across the top, and Athletics across the bottom. You can see an example of that in a Fleer sticker released in 1982 to commemorate the 1981 season. Finally, in 1993, the logo was redesigned to a circle logo that is still used by the team today. A green circle with a white circle in the center. Inside the white circle is the team's A's in green with a yellow outline. Across the top and bottom of the thick green border is the team name Oakland Athletics, which you can see from that first season here in 1993 on the baseball card of who else than Mark McGwire. Beginning as the Los Angeles Angels in 1961, the team's first logo was a baseball diamond with a green infield. On top of the diamond is an angel-winged baseball with a golden halo above it. The team's intertwined LA design is on the face of the baseball with the team's red color and navy outline. You can see an example of that from the program of their inaugural season here. In 1965, the team became the California Angels, mainly keeping the same design. The halo is a little bit smaller, shown in white, and the LA is replaced with a CA design for the new name California Angels. However, we already begin to see the use of their next design, Angels, all in lowercase, with a halo off of the A. You can see an example of this in a program from that era. Lowercase Angels with a halo across the top of a program, and the baseball diamond logo over the team's home in California on the map below, which leads us to the design with that lowercase namesake. In 1971, the team added a red patch with the state of California, a star over their home in Los Angeles, and a halo around the top of California. Another version of the logo used in the 70s was the state of California with the lowercase angels diagonally down the face of the state. A small star dots the home of the team, and a halo hangs off the top left edge of the state. You can see an example of that design from the 1971 Fleer sticker set. In 1973, the logo was altered, dropping the lowercase for an uppercase. You can see that here in that same Fleer sticker set from 2 years later. But with that change, the team also began moving away from the use of that logo altogether, opting for a more prominent presence of the A with the halo on their caps, or using the team name Angels with the halo over the A. You can see both examples on this program here from that era. In 1986, the team updated to a new version of the California state logo. This time set on the face of a baseball, California is shown in a dark navy with a gold star over Los Angeles. The team's A with a halo is placed overlaying the state of California. This logo was added on the sleeve of the team in 1986. In 1993, a new logo was designed and replaced the patch on the sleeve of the previous logo. This logo was a navy circle with a silver outline. In the center of the circle is an interlocked CA design in red with a white outline for the team name California Angels. On the A is a small silver halo. An example of that is seen on this trading card of Coach Jimmy Reese. Oh man, this guy's in his 90s at the time. Talk about love of the game. In 1997, now the Anaheim Angels, the team redesigned the logo for the team's new name. A home plate in powder blue in front of two baseball bats. Across the top of home plate is the team's new location, Anaheim. Through the center in a new stylized font is the team name, Angels, in all caps. The A, now without a halo, is given a nice pair of fancy wings. Those wings made it onto the team's cap, seen here in a program from that first season after the change. Fancy wings even made it into the H of the name of the magazine, Halo. In 2002, the logo was changed yet again, this time a navy blue baseball field shape. Anaheim Angels curves across the top. A large, newly designed A with a silver halo sits at the center as the focal point of the new design. An example of this is on the ALCS program from that year. Finally, in 2005, the team took the new A design and made it the team logo, dropping the rest of the design. This ALCS program shows that logo change here. The logo has remained the same for the Angels ever since that 2005 season. The Rangers began as the Washington Senators back in 1961. The then Senators' first logo is a circle. Inside, a pitcher in red is throwing a baseball. Behind the pitcher is the Capitol building of the United States, and across the top in a cursive script is the team name, Senators. Moving from Washington, D.C. to Texas for the 1972 season, the now Texas Rangers' new logo was of a baseball wearing a cowboy hat. In front of the baseball is the team name, Texas Rangers, in a Western-style font. On the bottom of the R is a small star shape, reminiscent of the design of the badge used by the Texas Rangers law enforcement branch. The Lone Star harkens to the state nickname, the Lone Star State. In 1981, the team designed a new logo, the state of Texas in blue with a baseball on top. The letters TR for Texas Rangers are in red, and a lone star sits inside of the R. This logo was only used for 2 seasons, when in 1984, the team designed a new version, updating the Texas-shaped logo design. Texas still in blue with white and red outlines. The baseball is roughly in the same spot as before, but the TR letters are replaced with a cursive script Rangers with an underscore coming off of the curly end of the cursive S. In 1994, the team designed a whole new logo. This baseball diamond shape in blue with pinstripes features a circular design at the center. Again, it is reminiscent of that Texas Rangers badge design. Across the top and bottom of that red circle reads Texas Rangers Baseball Club, and a small baseball sits on either side of the circle. Contained within the circle is that Lone Star. Originally a secondary logo from that 1994 logo change, in 1998 the team began using this new design as their primary logo. No diamond, instead a red circle with the center being that same blue pinstripe pattern design. Even more evocative of a law enforcement badge, the star shape extends past the bounds of the red circle with small rounded tips at each of the Lone Star's 5 points. In a blue and red banner across the front of the star, it reads Rangers. The team continued to use that logo through the 2002 season before making a new design. A circle shape, the top half in red and the bottom half in blue, reads Texas Rangers with a star on either side. The center of the circle is a baseball with blue stitching, and on the face of the baseball is a red letter T in the team's Western font, the same T often found on the team's hats. The team has used this logo as their primary logo ever since 2003. Beginning as the Houston Colt 45s, the Astros' first logo was of a navy-colored gun, specifically a Colt 45, firing. The smoke coming out of the barrel of the gun forms the word Colt in orange above the gun. Underneath is the rest of the name, 45s. Here we can see an example from a game program when they were playing the Reds. The smoky team name of this logo is in that Reds color. In 1965, the team changed their name to the Astros and moved into their new stadium, the Astrodome. Their new logo featured both of these changes. A big orange circle featuring an atomic arrangement of elements. At the center, the Astrodome sits where the nucleus would be, surrounded by whirling baseballs. And spinning across the center is the team name, Astros. You can see this logo making one of its first appearances on the cover of the program from that preseason series of the first year. The logo was updated in 1977, keeping the same idea but with simplified elements to the design. We still see the Astrodome and a new larger version of the team name underneath it. Then in clean interconnected lines, whirl the baseballs. Here you can see it on the press guide for the Astros in the 1977 season. In 1994, the logo is redesigned to a half-stadium background shape in navy, Houston in white, and Astros in gold inside of the shape. Coming across the top of the word Houston is a shooting star extending out of the top of the shape. You can see that they use that same star shape on their hats and helmets, like on this baseball card of Luis Gonzalez from that very same year. Following season in 1995, they made some alterations. Dropping the background shape, the gold star now comes off of a blue Astros name, and the location Houston sits atop of the elongated tail of the star, just like on the corner of Steve Finley's card from 1995. Man, having an outfield of Gonzo and Finley, that must have been really nice. In 2000, the team released a logo design for the new millennium, a cursive script wordmark of Astros, and the shooting star design above it. Both of these elements appear on this program from that season. Wait, what's that say? Enron Field. Wonder why that name didn't stick around. Anyway, in 2013, the team underwent another rebrand. The logo became a circular design primarily in blue. Between an inner and outer ring of orange is the team name Houston Astros. Inside the inner ring is an orange star with the letter H on top of it in white. A similar H and star design had previously been used on the team hats since before the 1994 rebrand. Interestingly, this gives the Astros team a logo that, like many of the previously discussed Texas Rangers logos, seems to have taken some inspiration from the design of the badge of the Texas Rangers law enforcement branch. When the Giants and Dodgers moved west in 1958, they left many New York-based fans without a team. When the New York Mets were founded, they were founded with the intention of filling that void. The colors that make up the logo are blue, orange, and white, the official colors of New York City. The logo is a circular baseball shape with an orange outline and orange stitching. Orange had been used in the stitching of the Giants logos when they were here in New York City, and orange was obviously one of their colors. Now inside the baseball is a silhouetted skyline in blue, chosen for the color of the Brooklyn Dodgers. In the center of the skyline is the team name Mets in a cursive script. Not entirely unlike the cursive scripts used by the Dodgers and Giants at the time. To the left of the team name is a small interlocked NY, similar to the NY the Giants used shortly before moving to San Francisco, but more on that in a minute. Below the team name is a suspension bridge, symbolizing the connections between all of the boroughs of New York City. The skyline is also designed very intentionally. First on the left is a church spire for one of Brooklyn's historic nicknames, coined by a paper called the Brooklyn Daily Eagle back in 1844, the City of Churches. Next is the Williamsburg Savings Bank Tower, which stood as the tallest building in Brooklyn until 2009. The third building is the Woolworth Building, which was the tallest building in the world until 1930. It is also one of over 40 buildings in New York that has its own zip code. In the center is the Empire State Building, perhaps the most famous building in all of New York, and the tallest building in the world until 1970. And the final shape at the end is meant to resemble the profile of the UN building where the United Nations is headquartered, a symbol of the size and influence of the city of New York. Now, that monogrammed interlocking NY on the side of the logo wasn't the only interlocking NY either. The team adopted the design used by the Giants 4 years earlier for use on their own baseball caps. In 2000, a small change was made to the logo, removing the small interlocking NY from the side. You can see it still in use on this 1999 NLCS program here, and then removed on the World Series program the following year in 2000. The team has used this version of the logo ever since. Joining Major League Baseball in 1969 after the Athletics moved to Oakland, the Royals' first logo was designed by Hallmark designer Shannon Manning. The design features a blue shield with a yellow gold crown. A white R for Royals is large on the face of the shield, with a small KC in the same gold color as the crown sitting atop the R like a crown. Below the shield is the team name in the same gold color. Here's an example from that first season. In 1977, they began using a new design of the logo, with Royals in cursive baseball script below the shield in the Royals blue color. Here's an example of a previous design being used also in 1977 in a monochromatic all-blue version of the logo. And here's an example of the new version being used also in 1977 during the ALCS. Around 1993, the 25th year for the Royals being in the league, the gold color changed to a darker, more true gold color. Although it was incredibly difficult to find precisely when this all happened, it appears that the change took a while to fully happen. As you can see, the more yellow gold is still being used by the team in this team-issued baseball card from 1998. In that same run of team-issued baseball cards the next season in 1999, it appears that the team has fully made the transition. Now, in 2002, the team made the decision to drop the R from the logo and instead put KC in white with a black outline at the center of the shield. You can see that here in that same baseball card collection from 2002. Finally, in 2019, the team simplified the logo further, dropping the word mark from the bottom of the logo and removing the black outline entirely for a simplified, flatter logo. Beginning in Seattle as the Pilots, the first Brewers logo was of a ship's wheel with wings on either side. Inside the wheel is a baseball and the team name, Pilots, is across the center of the face of the baseball. Moving to Milwaukee the very next season and now named the Milwaukee Brewers, the team's new logo was of Beer Barrel Man, a mascot used by the Milwaukee Brewers of the American Association, a AAA team for the Boston Braves up until 1952. This Barrel Man logo features an updated version of the mascot. The original was also in the team's colors of red and blue at the time, seen here. Barrel Man is swinging a bat at the center of the logo. The outline is in the team's yellow color. Across the top and bottom in blue is the team name, Milwaukee Brewers. In 1978, the team unveiled a new logo design. The design was created by a student named Tom Mendel, who entered a contest and was chosen from over 2,000 submissions. It was created to look like a baseball glove catching a ball. Outlined in yellow, the top blue portion of the glove creates an M for Milwaukee, and the bottom blue portion creates a B for Brewers. Inside of the B sits a baseball. The team used that logo up until 1994, when the Brewers created a new logo for their 25th season in the league. Meant to resemble an industrial stamp to pay homage to Milwaukee's industrial history, the new logo features a baseball diamond shape in a new navy and gold color. In the center of the baseball diamond is an interlocking gold M and B with a green outline. Behind the interlocking MB are two green baseball bats crossed, extending out past the bounds of the diamond. In 2000, a new logo was designed in anticipation of moving into a new baseball stadium the following season. A circular logo primarily using the navy and gold colors, it features a baseball at the center. Across the top is the city of Milwaukee, and across the bottom are barley stalks, hearkening to the brewing industry in Milwaukee that gives the team its name. Across the center of the circle logo and extending past the left and right bounds is the team name Brewers in the classic baseball-style script. In 2018, the team began using the M logo that was first introduced as a part of that 2000 rebrand. The M is in the same script as Brewers from the previous logo and features a barley stalk underlining the letter. Finally, in 2020, for the 50th anniversary of the team in Milwaukee, a new design was unveiled. This new circular logo replaces the gold color for the traditional yellow of the team's past. In the center of the logo is the ball in glove MB logo, and a simple block font Milwaukee Brewers sits across the top and bottom. The Padres' original logo, introduced in 1969, was a thin yellow outline circle with the team's name San Diego Padres underneath in brown. Inside of the circle is a swinging friar, a cartoon friar in traditional clothing, swinging a baseball bat. The baseball bat has the team name Padres on it in cursive. The friar was chosen like the team name because of San Diego's founding by Franciscan friars in 1769. The swinging friar logo is still used as a secondary logo today. In 1985, the Padres updated their logo, going primarily with a wordmark logo of Padres in brown with an orange outline over the letters. You can see an example of this change on the cover of the 1985 official program and Souvenir magazine. In 1990, the Padres added additional design elements to the Padres logo, adding a circular design behind the wordmark. In a ring above and below Padres, they added San Diego Baseball Club. And in the center of the circle is a pinstripe pattern. You can see an example here on the cover of a game program from 1990. In 1991, the team redesigned their logo to match their new color scheme. Dropping brown, the team's primary colors were now navy blue and orange. The new version of the logo replaced those colors and also spaced out the pinstripe design in the center of the background of the logo. You can see that logo and new uniforms on this program from their 1991 spring training. In 2004, for their inaugural season at Petco Park, the Padres designed a new logo. Shaped like a home plate in the background, the logo is primarily the team's dark blue color with a sand-colored outline. On the very top right, we see the team's location, San Diego, in the same sand color. A new Padres wordmark in cursive across the top of the base shape. The bottom third of the base is given an ocean wave design. You can see that here underneath a picture of the newly opened Petco Park from that very first season in their stadium. In 2011, there were small changes made to that Padres logo, simplifying the design by taking the location San Diego off of the top right. In 2012, the Padres released a new circular logo design using an intertwined SD that they had already been using on their hats in some fashion since their very beginning in 1969. The SD is in the innermost part of the all-navy circle in white, and the outer ring across the top and bottom is San Diego Padres Baseball Club. In 2015, the team took up the intertwined SD as their primary logo, most predominantly shown in navy or white. You can see an example from the media guide from the 2015 season in an almost metallic silver color. Fun fact about the SD, where the letters intertwine, they create a hint of a P shape, giving us the full initials SDP for San Diego Padres. Finally, in 2020, the team reverted back to their original colors of brown and yellow, changing the primary logo to the brown SD seen here on the media guide for the 2020 season. The Washington Nationals began as the Montreal Expos in 1969. Their logo was primarily this unique shape in red, white, and blue. The shape is made from the initials of the letters of the club name in French, Les Expos de Montreal Baseball. Where are my Francophiles at? Is that getting better? It's probably not getting better. The red swirl on the left is an E, the combination of the shapes gives an M, and just the blue bit on the right is a B. And here you can see an example of the logo in the top left corner of the program from that season. In 1992, an updated logo was released. The EMB shape was placed on the face of a baseball at the center of a predominantly red and blue circle. Montreal is above the baseball and Expos is wrapped below. You can see an example here from a media guide from the 1992 season. In 2005, the Expos moved to Washington, D.C., becoming the Washington Nationals. The Nationals' first logo looked somewhat like a patriotic bunting. The top half is the team name with Washington inside a smaller red banner above a big, bold Nationals. The bottom is that bunting shape. The center is a half of a baseball surrounded by patriotic stars. Here you can see it featured prominently in front of the Capitol building from the game program of opening day that very first season they were in Washington. In 2011, the team made another change, redesigning their primary logo to a circular design. A white inner circle with the team's W that they wear on their caps at the center. The outer ring features the team name. The new primary logo made the appearance for the first time on the team's left sleeve of their uniforms that season in 2011, and they've continued using it ever since. The Seattle Mariners began playing in 1977, and their first logo was a wordmark logo of the team name, Seattle Mariners Baseball Club. You can see an example of that here on the cover of a 1977 media guide. The design of the font is unique, and the M of Mariners is an upside-down trident, solidifying the C-base name for the team. Often, Seattle was placed smaller and on top of Mariners, just inside of the trident, which you can see from this photo of opening day, where police bikes were decked out with Mariners pennants. By 1979, the trident M had become the team logo itself. In blue with a yellow outline, it is placed atop a star as seen here from this program in 1979. In 1987, the trident M was replaced. The team's new logo became the letter M with an apostrophe S, giving us M's, obviously short for Mariners. The blue with yellow outlined letters were placed on top of a baseball, whose outline and stitching were also in the team's blue color. Finally, in 1993, the Mariners overhauled their team, changing the logo colors and uniform. The new logo is a circular design. At the center is a green and silver compass, like what explorers would use to navigate. The center of the compass is a baseball, and in the outer navy blue ring is the team name, Seattle Mariners. The Toronto Blue Jays' first logo in 1977 was of a Blue Jays head in profile on top of a red baseball. The Canadian national symbol, a maple leaf, sits behind the Blue Jays head, and the team name sits above and below that, Toronto Blue Jays. And looking at this, that's right? Great classic logo, just slap a circle around it and you basically have the Blue Jays logo of today, right? Well, we have 3 detours first. In 1997, the team redesigned their logo, placing the Blue Jay head and baseball atop a maple leaf. Below is the team name Blue Jays. Abandoning that design in 2003, the team decided to go with a full-on anthropomorphized cartoon Blue Jay, tossing a baseball, holding a bat, a maple leaf tattoo on his bicep, while hugging a T for Toronto. Unsurprisingly, that logo lasted only a single season as the primary team logo. In 2004, the team unveiled a new logo design, a cartoon Blue Jay head emerging from the letter J of Jays in a 3D font. This truncation of the team name simply to Jays is quite a departure from the previous team designs. In the end, however, the team decided in 2012 to make the radical decision of going back to the really good design that they had begun with and modernizing it. Team president Paul Beeston at the time said, "At the end of the day, we went right back to where we were and we upgraded it." It has been energized, it has been modernized, and I think when you started looking at it, the players wanted the same thing. Since I seem to have no real memory of the 3 logos between the original and this one, I'm glad that they returned back to this design. The colors are all updated, and fonts are also updated with a serif-style font. And of course, the logo is bound neatly inside of a circle. Often the team simply uses the Blue Jay head with a maple leaf, a clean, simple logo that is easily recognizable, and I for one hope they don't try to change again. The Colorado Rockies began in 1993. Their original primary logo was of a purple mountain range, taken from the Purple Mountains Majesty from the song America the Beautiful. A baseball is flying out of the base of the mountains. Above the mountains, in an arch, is the location Colorado, and below the mountains is the team name Rockies. These, of course, being the Rocky Mountains. Now, taking the same silver and black trimmed font used for the word Rockies, the team also designed a secondary logo of an interlocking CR. The CR is often depicted in purple with silver trim, or the more pleasing to the eye, silver with purple trim. Fun fact, notice how the purple differs. Well, it actually wasn't until 2017 that the team settled on a consistent shade of purple, that being Pantone 2685, which is not this color right here, but it's probably close. Pantone is famously litigious about using their colors, so this is just close enough. Anyway, also in 2017, the team decided to flip-flop their alternate and primary logos, thus giving us the CR shape, however you want to color it, as the team's primary logo. Beginning in 1993, the Miami Marlins were originally called the Florida Marlins. The original logo was of a gray circle with the team name Florida Marlins. The center of the circle is a baseball with a marlin, a type of fish, jumping through the circle. Here you can see the logo at the top of the game program from opening day of the Marlins' inaugural season. In 2012, upon moving to their new baseball park and becoming the Miami Marlins, the team created a new logo and adopted a wider color palette. The new logo is a large M in orange, light blue, and yellow. Colors chosen to be as vibrant as Miami itself. The interior of the M is shown either in white or black. Here's an example from the front of a media guide from that very first season after the change. Finally, in 2019, the Marlins changed their logo for a final time, at least for now. The new logo is of a marlin leaping behind the word Miami. To the side of the marlin is stitching of a baseball using the negative space of the jumping fish to complete the shape of a baseball. The colors are as vibrant in their own way as the last logo. Officially, these colors are Caliente Red, Miami Blue, Midnight Black, and Slate Gray. Beginning in 1998, the Arizona Diamondbacks came out of the gate with a very bold logo design. The team's colors were purple, black, teal, and copper, making for quite the unique combination of colors that had a specific Southwest feel as well. The design of the primary logo started with a large A on top in teal. Along the left side of the A is a diamond-shaped pattern in purple with a copper outline, creating a similar pattern of what you would see on the back of an actual diamondback rattlesnake. The crossbar of the A is designed after the forked tongue of a snake. Below the A is the team name, diamond in purple with the D extending lower than the rest of the words on either side. In between the D's at the beginning and end sits the word backs in copper on a bar of purple. In 2007, the team made a significant change, changing the team colors to Sedona Red, Sonoran Sand, and Black. The team kept the design of the A in their logo, but replaced the wordmark section with a new design, now giving the whole wordmark a shape reminiscent of the head of a snake. The font design gives long tails to the A and K of backs, giving the head shape fangs like the team's namesake. Finally, in 2012, the wordmark was dropped from the primary logo, and the A design itself became the primary logo that we still see today. The Tampa Bay Rays began as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 1998. The first logo was a multicolored circle outlined in navy. A large devil ray is swimming across it. Above the Devil Ray is the location Tampa Bay, and below is the team name Devil Rays. In 2001, the word devil was dropped from the logo. The new logo design was a navy oval with a dark green outline. The words Tampa Bay are big over the center of the oval, and extending off of the Y of Bay is another ray. In 2008, the team dropped devil from their name to officially becoming the Tampa Bay Rays. Their new logo featured a background of a baseball diamond in navy and light blue. Over the baseball diamond is the team's new name, Rays, with the end of the R trailing out to make a curved shape of a ray's fin as it swims. Also on the R is a yellow sunburst, giving a dual meaning to the team name Rays, both the animal and the sunshine. Finally, in 2018, the team began dropping the baseball diamond from the logo, simply using the team's wordmark logo as their primary logo. And that does it for all 30 MLB franchises. Hopefully there's no updated logo designs soon because I am exhausted. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to share this video with any of your baseball friends out there. Thank you all so much for watching and learning things with me. I'll see you on the next video.